If it concerns you, it definitely is our business here on Weekend Deal because we're patriots building this vibrant country together over 200 million strong. Welcome. It's a Weekend Deal. And guess what? Today, the focus is on you as usual. There is talk about where we are at this time. If you recall, in May, at the inauguration of this administration, fuel subsidy was removed. Some say it was a welcome development, and the realities are with us now as we speak. Some have tagged it the economic realities of our time. However you say it, we do know about the never say die of the typical Nigerian, our resilience, our tenacity, and our focus. It will all take center stage on the program today. We urge you to stay with us. My name is Thelma Obaz. Welcome to Weekend Deal. Weekend Deal. You're watching Weekend Deal. Always great to have your company, especially as we talk about issues that affect us, either for good or for nay. When we talk about economic realities, many things come to mind at this time. Let's talk about inflation, hiking school fees, hiking rent, hiking transportation cost. Well, Francis has been unrelenting as usual. He tackles this with Dr. Joachim Ezeji, and he takes it from the angle of the citizens, over 200 million people. What's happening with us now? Francis, please tell us more.
I'm aware the government is making efforts to bring some palliative, which for me is also another form of subsidy. Maybe this one is structured subsidy because that of petroleum became so unstructured that the government could not identify the leg or the tail of it. So decided to, okay, let's remove it. Inflation has hit mostly basic items which people depend on for daily living, especially food. Everybody needs all this, but the most affected are the poor people. When I talk about the poor people, anybody who earns less than 100,000 naira in Nigeria is terribly hit. It's difficult because you cannot afford to live, you just exist. And if you have a family that is large, maybe if you are more than 4 people in a household, it's difficult to feed everybody. If you belong to some cooperative associations or groups or any other support systems, you leverage on them to keep going. I know people who contribute money and then they can use it to buy foodstuff in groups and they share among themselves. That's another strategy to live in these difficult times. Then you will be careful not to overload yourself with debts by going to borrow money, because the money you borrow today, the debtors will come after you tomorrow. And then if you have access to temporary large quantity of cash or resources, you can think of alternative business you can put up that can help you to keep going, to have extra income. Find a school that is around and the fees are reasonable. Get your children there. Instead of you want your child to be in this remote school, the fees are so high and you can't afford it. Who will pay it for you? If you have a car that the economy and the fuel economy of the car is good enough, you can reduce where you go with your car, and then you can consider picking people on the way. You can pick people on the way to make up the money to buy fuel. Nigerians are resilient people, and the time for resiliency is now. So there is a need for Nigerians to think outside the box to survive. Go for things you can afford, things that are within reach, and then cut your coat according to your size.
Weekend Deal today is captured.
Weekend Deal! Always interesting to see what Francis's research thrust up, just like today. Well, we have set the tone, and it's all about you. That's how we spend some time right now in Lagos. We go see what's happening there. Let's talk about the inflation rate rising, amongst other things that impact many Nigerians.
Statistics (NBS) recently said that Nigeria's annual inflation rate rose to 22.79% from 22.41% in June. Since the announcement of subsidy removal, which triggered an immediate hike in transportation fares and prices of goods and services, it's most certain that the rate of inflation in Nigeria will go up.
Well, in Nigeria's case, there are multiple factors that are fueling inflation and causing inflation. One is the issue of insecurity that has led to a reduction in food production, and that has led to an uptick in the price of food items. At some point, there was a shutdown, a closure of the land borders that affected importation of food through the land borders, and that affected the price of food items. Other factors have been the devaluation of the local currency. When the currency is devalued, it leads to import-induced inflation. Increase in fuel, increase in diesel. Then you have the issue of increase in energy cost.
The current rate of inflation has affected the daily life of an average Nigerian. How?
It just goes south. South meaning that house rents just go up. School fees just go up. I just see my children's school fees. I hear like my heart.
Number one, transport. Okay. Secondly, food. Because I have family. My children will eat, do all those things. Inflation of school fees again, those ones.
It's affecting planning, serious planning. And it's, you know, when things like this happen in the house, there'll be conflict, there'll be issues between the husband and wife, because the husband, maybe they've not increased the salary, and maybe the wife too is also struggling, and things are going up. There will be issues.
It is no longer news that Nigerians have been challenged when it comes to exercising their purchasing power. They have been lamenting, and that has played out in the recent Nigeria Labour Congress protest.
If you realize that when you save, you can no longer afford the quantity of goods you could have bought today if you had deferred your consumption, then the tendency is for you to consume now instead of keeping aside those things. So it reduces the level of savings. In terms of household income, any erosion in terms of value of money leads to a reduction in the purchasing power of households, and that reduces their ability to buy goods and services. In effect, if their income remains constant or does not increase at the rate of inflation, the quantity of goods and services they can consume is reduced proportionately to by the rate of inflation.
How then should one maintain a balanced household budget in this trying time?
We just have to cut costs. We have to cut down on the desirables. You know, we have need, we have wants. But even the needs, when you cannot satisfy the need, you have to cut it. Yeah. If you are eating, if a family of 4 or 5 are eating like 2 derrick of rice once, you have to manage like 1.5.
What you should do is, one, they have to readjust their consumption pattern. That's the first thing you need to do. 2, you need to look for multiple income sources. And then 3, you also need to make sure that you have that your investment is effectively, or your savings is effectively invested in assets that, even if they don't give returns higher than inflation, but that to some extent the returns mirror inflation rate.
In these trying times, I think the family, especially the husband and the wife, they have to come together and have a budget and agree on a budget. No to wastage, no to owning electricity anyhow, no to wasting of water, no to wasting of resources.
It is pertinent to ensure that we cut our coat according to our cloth, not even size, as we prioritize expenses so that the reform we so much clamor for will come to stay for good.
Interesting. We need to set our priorities right. Don't just set your priorities. You have to take all the factors that impact your priorities into consideration so that you set what is right above the other that can step down. Well, let's meet and greet our guest. He's an expert in many fields and is going to guide our discourse at this time. Dr. Emeka Henry Inegbu. When I saw HCIB, I said I have to ask him, what does this HCIB mean? Well, honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers. He comes with 23 years of banking experience and is a trained and certified marriage and relationship expert. And he's doing a lot of premarital counseling, you know, with us here in Nigeria. Great to have you on Weekend Deal.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are just the man to drive our discourse at this time, because you know that the impact is, it has hit families.
Yes, it has.
And of course,
Definitely.
the families, we have the parents at the helm.
Yes, yes.
We welcome you to Weekend
Thank you very much. It's a good, it's a privilege to be here once again. Truly, like you said, and from the clips we've seen, the reality is here. And then what should we do? Families must have conversations around the realities of today. The mistake as parents we all make is to pretend that the situation is not what it is. So we must face the reality and begin to make adjustments. Just listening to some of the clips and some of the things we have talked about off camera, the fact is that families must budget. And budgeting is not something you pick in the air. You need to sit down and look at what is our total income. I'm consciously using the word total income. What is the man bringing in? What is the woman bringing in? If you're alone, what are you bringing in? And begin to apportion how you will spend your money. Okay, what goes into food, what will go into the rent down the year, what will go into medication, what will go into school fees, and begin to save towards it. That's what budgeting is. And the concept is always better when you spend on paper. When you write it down, you'll be able to run with it. That's one. Secondly, again, from what people have said, and it's been said over and over, you must find ways of creating multiple sources of income. And it sounds so huge, but it's pretty simple. You have a car. Who says you shouldn't pick a passenger on the way to work? And then for colleagues who work together in certain areas, you must do carpooling. This is not the time to show off. You sit in that car alone and drive all the way from one end of the city to the other end of the city. And your colleague who lives next door drives from one end of the city to the end of the city. You don't need to show off to anyone, okay? Pull your resources together and use it. Another concept that is also very needed at this point is the concept of having to do bulk buying. You see, the idea of you rise up early in the morning and go and buy one tea bag because you want to take tea, or buy an egg because you want to eat egg, against putting some funds together and buying a crate of egg. Now, it will last you longer, it will save you money. But of course, there is this idea of where is the bulk money coming from. But if you plan, you may just be able to achieve that. So basically, is having that thing that makes you sit down and plan your resources.
These are things that we will be taking one step, you know,
Yes,
one at a
yes,
time.
yes.
Now, I find this phrase, multiple income streams, very interesting.
Yes.
Like you said, it sounds like it's gigantic or something really novel. But like you say, it's simple. We can simplify it. But tell us how. If someone, for example, has been doing one particular or focused on one discipline for over 2 decades, you know, has been running with it, earning from it, and perhaps most of your time in a day is spent, you know, at that discipline. When you now mention multiple streams of income, the first thing that the person will feel is panic. What am I going to do? And where will I find the time? But good thing you're here.
No, but you see, the thing is, what do you enjoy doing? That's the first question that everyone should ask him or herself right now. Do you enjoy to write? Do you enjoy to read? Do you enjoy to braid hair? Do you enjoy taking care of people? So you must find something, because if you find something you are comfortable at doing, it won't look like work,
Like a
but then you also make money from it. So added to your regular work schedule is that thing that you find comfortable doing. Who says you can't make money from it?
Like online,
Like
offline,
online, yes.
physically?
So and the thing is, social media is a tool that can aid us. It's also a tool that can distract us. Now, when you spend time going through the various social media platforms and just reading to entertain yourself, you can actually spend that same time. There are portals and links where you can also do some other things that you can earn a little pay doing. Now, there are people who like to talk, who talk for a living. You can do podcasts that you can send out and then generate the necessary traffic and over time make money from it.
Over time.
Yes.
You need immediate resources.
Okay, so, but then you can't keep waiting until that overtime happens. You start today. And as you begin to build
perhaps
critical mass over
come.
time, yes. And then somebody can find it very interesting and say, we will sponsor you to do this. We can place adverts as you do this. And you can get invited to events, to MC occasions, because you're comfortable talking.
But you know what? In times, people waited to be invited. Perhaps now we can begin to let more people be aware.
Oh,
because
yeah.
if we wait, perhaps the invite may never come, because there's so many people doing this kind of thing that people can do.
Yes.
So we should now become more
yes,
proactive.
Yes, put yourself out there. Then there's something that I like to say this every time I have the opportunity to talk to people who think that leaving Nigeria is the solution to this whole problem. Now, how come the people who live here go abroad and they do other jobs? Now, you can see a medical professional or somebody in the IT will still live here, be doing the IT job, and he's also doing home care.
Over there.
Over there. He can sit down and watch over that elderly man or elderly woman and get paid doing that. Or some people even go as far as cleaning. Meanwhile, you have another job. How come we can't do that here?
We're going to Port Harcourt in Rivers State at this time, and as the conversation continues, it's no surprise to learn that inflation has hit there as well, touching on everything that affects a human being. Port Harcourt, please share more.
In recent times, the surge in petroleum prices has had a profound impact on Nigerians, affecting nearly every aspect of human life.
Once the price of PMS goes up, you see the ripple effect on transport fares, you see the ripple effect on food prices, you see the ripple effect on house rent, you see the ripple effect on even barbing. So, and these things usually have a spiral effect. As this one affects one, it's the domino effect. At the end of it, you see life becomes unbearable.
Small and medium-sized enterprises are not left out as they lament their ordeal.
What we are facing is very severe from what we used to experience before. We don't have much passengers, so many people are trekking, you understand? So that is the issue. We are facing it severely.
I live in Ropaku. From Ropaku to here cost me almost 500 naira coming. Going 500, which is 1,000 naira. Fuel, if there is no light, we spend almost 6,000 naira daily for 10 liters of fuel, which we use from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the evening.
Before now, if I buy fuel of 5,000, 7,000 in a week, it take me to close to the end of the week. But now I buy 15, 20,000 within 2 days is off. So it's actually the solar power generator that is sustaining us from now.
Despite these challenges, some entrepreneurs are finding innovative ways to cope with the situation by reducing dependency on fossil fuel.
Yeah, this is the gas carburetor, and with this, if you get it, you need an engineer that will fix it on your gen. It's not something you can do it by yourself if you're not an expert. So you need to get an expert that can fix it and get a hose and also a regulator that will regulate the flow of the gas to the gen, to this carburetor. This carburetor has dual function. That is to say, if you are making use of the gas and peradventure eventually you run out of gas, you can also resort back to fuel if you have fuel in your tank. It's a matter of switching over from the gasoline or from the gas part to the fuel part.
Others are proactively embracing renewable energy, though they say it is capital intensive.
Major problem is that solar systems are very expensive. So if only government can actually help the citizen to kind of reduce or get be involved in the importation of solar systems, that will actually help people to buy, because as it stands now, the cost is very high.
As communities and businesses adopt, individuals have also embraced alternative means of transportation.
Like me, I have to park my car most of the times and then use public transport. And if I'm going out with my family, then we use my car, you understand? Because it's not easy at all. So we're soliciting the government should increase minimum wage and then make life more comfortable and bearable for each citizen.
In a bid to cushion the effect of transportation costs on its citizens, the Rivers State government has taken some proactive steps.
The governor of Rivers State has put on the road some remedies in terms of transportation. I can see some buses moving around Port Harcourt carrying people free. That is part of the palliative measure to curb the excesses of this petroleum hike and the impact on the people.
So there is no other way to cushion the effect other than to refine and supply petroleum within Nigeria.
Amidst these, some Nigerians are hopeful that the policy of subsidy removal will boost Nigerians' economy.
Subsidy will encourage investment, as a matter of fact. It makes the sector more competitive. As a matter of fact, subsidy will go a long way to ensure that there is employment generation in the economy, as a matter of fact. In the short run, it's a major challenge for us. But in the medium term and the long run, Nigeria will benefit from this policy.
For Rivers people, it is a journey of hope and determination. Together, we can overcome and create a sustainable future that shines brighter.
Very engaging package there from Rivers State. They delved into many areas. What piqued my curiosity, Dr. Negbo, is that gas, that connection is something we saw online, and we thought we'd just go take our cooking gas, connect to the generator, and then go and sleep or rest easily when the weather is hot or humid. Is that it?
Well, I've seen it. I've seen a few people use it.
Is it advisable?
But then the thing is, do not try to do it yourself. It's usually not as simple as that. There's a component that needs to be installed to your generator that will divert the gas to the engine and make it run. But then again, we all need to be very careful. I don't want to call it a new technology, but then there may be some level of abuse. Gas is still gas, and the risks are still there. So we need to evaluate this in totally. But then if it saves you money and you have checked it out properly, then why not?
Why not?
Clearly because it seems that it's cheaper than petroleum product, than fuel. But then just taking the clip we just watched, I think what everybody must look at is a total life change. We must all take a general overview of how we have lived our life over the years. Because power has not been as expensive as it should be, we are taking it for granted. We leave our lights on and go to work. But now with prepaid meter, you need to, of course, understand that you have to switch off certain things before you go to work. We also saw the petroleum
The
price
lady
thing.
said that they must
Yes.
get the refineries
Yes,
working.
if the refineries are working, the petroleum cost of petrol will obviously come down. But then much more than that, the alternative means of transportation, bicycles, walking, and if you've had the privilege of traveling to places like China and even in the US, people tend to walk. Because facilities are close to, if you live in a community, for instance, you live in Gariki in Abuja, all the necessary facilities where your post office is close by, the hospital is close by, your children's school is close by, and you live within your immediate community where you work. You can actually walk to work.
Okay.
But then
when the weather is not too humid.
Yes, of course, definitely that. Then you need to look at the concept of must we Must you take a drive to go to the supermarket?
You're watching Weekend Deal. It's time for a break. We'll be back. Keep your messages coming in. Don't go away. Weekend Deal. You're watching Weekend Deal. Always great to have your company on the show. We're talking about the economic realities that we all face, and that's where Dr. Inegu has been guiding and our discussion, chatting very interesting dimensions that were unforeseen before now, or many did not take note of. So it's great to have the interesting dimensions you're bringing to the table. But being a counselor, you counsel couples, single, about to get married, and those who are married. What are they saying? How are they tackling it? When did they start? What innovations are they bringing to the table? How are they talking to their children?
Well, a lot of couples are beginning to face realities and asking themselves what practical things can they do. Okay, we've had couples who have decided to start some small poultry behind their houses. Take 5 birds and you begin to rear them, and after 3 months, 6 weeks to 3 months, the eggs, if you're doing layers, if you're doing broilers, you can actually begin to even eat some and sell to your neighbors. People are beginning to have small gardens. You know, these days, who says you can't plant yams in buckets behind your houses?
Are you talking about planning for the rainy day?
Yes, you must plan. You see, and that takes us to, we've actually gone through this cycle before. You know, just reading, those of us.
Parents did.
Yes, our parents did. Our parents did. Some time ago, I mean, for most of us, we read it, or we were too young to have experienced it directly.
SAP.
The SAP, the Structure Adjustment Program. I do not see why someone wants to use his car and fuel it for 25 to 50,000 naira when he can take the bus and commute with colleagues and just live communally.
And network.
And get to work, because he's sure that when he closes at 4 or 5, he gets to the bus stop, he can take the bus back home, and then he can do that the next day, and he's sure that the bus will be there the next morning
to take him.
So why put my car on the road? You know, so he has a total effect on the mental well-being, you know, of the people.
Total lifestyle change.
That must happen.
Every area of our lives will be touched. But I talk about talking to children. Because in many cases, you know, for those who were very, very comfortable before this adjustment or this removal of the fuel subsidy, some children were even schooling outside the country.
Oh, yes.
Some are in very high-cost schools, you know, that is just like their homes or even better, you know, enjoying the best of the best, elite kind of education. And I know I've had a first-hand experience where I saw the mother rehearsing how she was going to tell her son that come September, his tertiary education that was supposed to happen outside the country would no longer, you know, happen, not in the order they had initially planned. Perhaps it would be first degree here and then master's later. So how are parents talking to their children? Perhaps even better, how ought they to open up a conversation such as this?
Now that's a total discussion entirely. Parenting is a concept that our generation have suddenly changed the meaning of what it is. Our parents were first parents to us and friends later. Today, most parents have become friends with their kids and then want to be parents later.
Okay.
I do not see why a parent will have challenges in talking to their children, because first, you're their parent. They should see you as the person who knows better, because you should know better.
Okay.
So a parent shouldn't have a challenge telling the children, this is what the reality is. And we do not give these kids credit. They understand the times.
They can even see
They see the times. They know. But when a parent pretends around the children, then you set yourself up. The children can tell that when mommy and daddy are in the room, they're arguing over money. And then you come out and pretend that all is well. But they know, they do know that things are not ordinary. Because the things they used to eat, they don't see it anymore.
Yes.
So why not sit down and tell the kids what the reality is?
Okay.
And let them know, we can't afford to put you in this school right now because there's a temporary downtime, that things will change, but this is where we can fit you in. Like one of the clips said, cut your cloth according to your material.
Indeed, indeed. And if the material gets small, everybody can still comfortably, if they make it a lifestyle, enjoy that.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to Osogbo now, and we have Comrade Lanre sharing experiences and talking about the impacts over there. We'll learn more.
is the backbone of any given nation. It dictates the speed of development for states and any individual involved. As such, any government in power dictates the type of economic strategy believed to be the best at any given point in time.
The first subsidy is gone.
The inception of administration in Nigeria in 2023 witnessed total withdrawal of oil subsidy, which has been on discussion for years by past governments. The total removal has turned Nigerians to beggars' repentance in such a way that it's very hard to make ends meet economically.
If as a family man, I have some little property that people rented from me, I will have to shift whatever responsibilities the fuel increase is bringing on those properties, because that's one means of income. People who sell goods, it must have affected the purchase of whatever they are doing. However, even after the subsidy removal, we'll still add that margin of the exchange rate.
Most Nigerians work in the public sector, and that's a serious anomaly. What we expect is that it should be private sector run. So because we work in the public sector, most Nigerians rely on salaries. And once you juxtapose the salary they take against the disposable income, you realize that it's almost nothing. Because if the country is not producing, we will not have enough money. That's why the last regime, remember, were borrowing money to even pay salary. Why is this so? It is so because, whether we like it or not, we are dependent on a monolithic economy. We realize majority, about 90-something% of our income comes from crude oil sales. And I repeat, it's a serious anomaly.
The interval of rise in price of commodity within months and weeks are getting out of the reach for Nigerian existence, as price of food items has risen beyond normal for all and sundry. An adage says, no same person will want to end his life, but when life itself has become as cheap as a 10-kobo coin, then problems set in. Removal of oil subsidy has increased the workload of Nigerian economy, which is now having devastating effect on accessing formidable housing, healthcare, and qualitative education.
It's apparent that everybody will use what they have to get out of the problem. And so what I am using to try and get myself out of the problem is a problem for those who are going to pay it. If I have tenants, they will have to pay more. If you are buying anything now, it has to go up more. And the essence of why this is a major issue is because people felt the government should have thought it through. And as it is, because this matter is hinged on the dollar and forex determination, it is not as if we have reached the end of the road. Until we make up our minds as a nation to go back to the brass tacks.
Change the narrative so that the trajectory can change, so that Nigerians will smile to the bank. Let us make sure that this issue of crude oil that we are talking, the removal of subsidy, I'm not saying it should come back, but let the government do something fast so that results could be gotten. I appreciate what the federal government is doing now. They have called the state government and they are giving them money to go and find a way of restituting the situation so that people can feel better. I hope this is done fast, the state. So let us empower each state so that we move away from the trajectory of let's go to the Abuja to collect issues, stop, if we want this country to move forward. Then let the president make sure that each state account for whatever it has, because potentially Nigeria is the richest country in the world.
The question now is, what is going to be the after effect of this suffering?
Nigeria has the potential to be the richest country in the world. That's the thing that stuck in my head amidst all the other interesting things he said. this lifestyle change, we must imbibe it. There are many things we're discussing behind the scene. Women come, while people are doing carpooling, there are other ways we can pull. Buy our produce together. Tell us more. Your friend is going to the airport. What do you do?
Okay, yes. So first of all, you need to recognize that there is no shame. Okay, and then I always give this illustration. The same things we can all do abroad. Why are we ashamed doing it here?
Okay.
Nobody gives anybody free rides between central London and Heathrow because he's going to pay taxes. So if you have a friend who is going to the airport or who is going somewhere and is your direction, even if it's not your direction, you can offer to render that service and get paid. Now, rather than pay an 8,000 naira to take from Wuse to airport, you can ask the person to pay you 5,000 naira. You make an extra income. And then for women, you see, and that's something that women must find ways to do. They must come together and work together. 5 women coming together to buy a cow and they share will put more on their table than one woman going to the market to buy the same meat, or buy a goat together, or buy a basket of tomatoes together, or buy vegetables from Jos together, and you find a way to share that.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper, and then at the long run, it's fresher. You're sure what you're getting, and then again, men can also. If who says you can't tell your neighbors who live close by or your colleagues who work in the same complex, I can take you to work, and then you pay me a token.
Okay.
And then we have that understanding.
So he can park his car.
Yes. And
more people can use one, and then they support that person.
4 people riding with you. You have that to augment. So we must find creative ways to survive these times.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emeka Henry Enegbu, honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers. I said that these innovative ideas and dimensions you are taking us through, I mean, wonderful. And we must make it a lifestyle.
Oh, yes. Total lifestyle change.
Cut our coat according to our cloth, our fabric, our material, all together. Please continue to talk to Nigerians at any level where you find yourself. We know you've been doing it.
Thank you.
We are listening, we're hearing, we're going to imbibe it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Interesting discourse there. You're watching Weekend Deal. Always great to have your company on the show. It's time to touch base with Bayelsa. What is happening over there? They will share.
Trade and commerce arguably are as old as man and has formed the fulcrum of the daily interactions of humans. The quest for survival has propelled humans to be engaged in diverse walks of life and occupations. Some are engaged with white-collar jobs, whereas others tend towards self-employment, especially with regards to small and medium-scale enterprises or businesses. These businesses, otherwise known as SMEs, include supermarkets, electronic shops, barbing, hairdressing, mechanics and technicians, fashion designers and boutiques, catering, eateries and food shops, welding and fabrication, and a host of others. Some of the aforementioned businesses do not require huge capital or accommodation, but have gradually become the mainstay or source of survival for many homes. However, it is no longer news that most SMEs are struggling to survive or break even. No thanks to the harsh economic realities due to inflation and increase in the prices of petroleum products. This situation has led to increase in cost of transportation and production. It is therefore pertinent to find out how these businesses are faring despite the economic challenges.
It's our brand, our name, what we deliver to our customers. That is what has been keeping us in business, despite the economic high.
Every business is all about understanding. And when you are doing your business, you do it with clean mind. You do your business very well, do it very neat, and make people that will attract people to buy from you. Environment first, your environment have to be clean. And the things you do it perfect. Do your stews very well.
When things is moving, we don't like to bring things outside much like this. But since things is getting more difficult and people is not patronizing us well, so we're now bringing it out so that as people are passing, they will now look at it and see. Maybe even though you didn't plan for it, but as long as you sit outside here, it will move you to come and price, and from there you will buy.
My cost still remain normal, just a little bit increasing for now. But
it's really hard for me to cope based on the 4 increments. It's really hard for me to cope and continue with it.
It is quite fascinating, the display of ingenuity and creativity of business owners just to ensure they stay afloat. For instance, the conversion of fuel generators to gas-powered generators. Barbers have also resorted to battery-powered clippers.
Why I'm using wireless clipper, because the clipper is free and reliable to use, and it's so smart than the normal clipper we used before.
I'm sweating because there's no money to even buy fuel in this business. Because of that, I switched to gas. So right now I'm using gas for this business, and not only fuel, even the material that I'm using for this is very cost right now.
There is high cost of baking materials. Things have increased. What you are buying 700 now is 800. Some of them is 900. So if you get order like cake, we increase our price. But you must tell the customer that, see, the thing have increased. Instead of 12,000, is now 15,000.
Indeed, creativity, ingenuity, and versatility have today proven to be the panacea and string of survival of many businesses in the face of the current economic realities.
We're talking about... They can come to you now without even telling you. If this thing has issue, they can even come to you. Okay. Yes.
It's my pleasure of being invited here.
And I know that we can really hit the ground running because almost everything that I'll be saying today, you've definitely heard it before and you've been watching the program. We're talking about the economic realities on ground now. Many Nigerian is faced with gigantic price hikes in almost everything: housing, food, PMS, to move your car from place to place. I even know that many of my colleagues are even using their bicycles at this time. And it's something we want to bring to the front burner today. So we'd like you to set the tone now for us. The dawning economic realities in Nigeria. Nigerians are facing quite a lot.
There's no doubt that Nigerians generally are facing daunting economic challenges. Brought about, by a multiplicity of factors. Some of these factors have been with us, but more importantly, to my mind, what has triggered the rapid, degeneration of our economic situation is undoubtedly the lifting of or removal of fuel subsidy. A lot of people, more often than not, will look at it as a creation of the Tinubu administration. I think this is a very uncharitable approach to looking at the issue. The problem with the oil industry in this country is that for so long we produce raw oil, we do not have capacity to refine. If you produce and you cannot refine it, the imperative is that you have to take it abroad to refineries overseas. The cost of transporting this, raw oil to overseas refineries, the cost of bringing them back, when you add it to the cost of real refining and the cost of the product, the raw product, the price escalates. So I think the problem we have as a country is our inability over the years to, have refineries which are working. I belong to the past government, and I have this regret, and I keep, saying it to myself that in 8 years we were not able to
remove the subsidy.
To refine
get the refineries working.
Get the refineries working despite our pledge. I do not have an answer to our failure in this respect, but I think we must,
it should have been done before
be
now.
True to ourselves. If the previous government had succeeded in bringing to action the refineries which have been comatose over the last several years,
30,
I think
40
we
years?
would not have been in the problem
situation where we are today.
That we are today.
But we are there now. We are there now. And it's very challenging for many Nigerians. At this time, without being told, everyone is adjusting. There's no way you can move past that. You must adjust. But what we're looking at now is tightening the belt is not even solving the issue as we speak. We know that the refineries, we know that one is almost completed, and they say in a year's time another one will get to work. So we expect relief. But what Nigerians may be asking each other at this time is, why now? But before we answer the why now is, what ought we to do while this is happening? I think we'll take the why now later. What ought Nigerians to do now? Because we've tightened our belts, it's so tight now, and there's little relief for us.
Well, it is a truism that the current government is talking about, bringing relief to Nigerians by way of creating palliatives. And the palliative that has been thought of for now is, a number of, actions which include distributing money over the next 6 months to the poor households and all of that. But to my mind, I think one or two of the most important things we ought to do is to look at which areas of expenditure are biting more for the ordinary Nigerian. If I have my way, the palliatives should be in regard to ensuring free and compulsory education at all levels for all Nigerians.
At all levels.
At all levels for all Nigerians. Because, the poor person, the poor households, to get to educate their children now,
it'll be near impossible.
It's near impossible. Then you talk of health services. A lot of people have been dying at home because there's no hospital you go, even the so-called government hospitals. When you go one way or the other,
there's an out-of-pocket expense.
I think government should concentrate on creating free and fair education at all levels, so that will be a great leveler in terms of providing succor for the ordinary Nigerian as well as for all Nigerians generally. Those who want to take their children to fee-paying schools can, do that.
But that would be government schools.
Well, government schools. Many governments. You talk of recently, the University of Lagos, among other universities, have tried to increase
the
fees. Despite the fact that the federal government says all federal universities are non-fee paying. But the truth is, for those of us who people perceive to be well-to-do, we know the extent of pressure from students of many of these institutions who need, financial relief, who need support.
From relatives as well.
I want to refer to what the late sage, Chief Obafemi Olo, has said. He warns us that if we fail to educate the children of the poor, they would ensure that our own children do not enjoy their lives.
Peace. Indeed.
So, providing free and compulsory education at all levels would have even solved a security problem which is real. Today, in many states, if you have a phone, you are at risk of being killed by people who want to snatch your phone.
Okay, but hold that thought. Let me ask you something. You've talked about free education at all levels. Very interesting and very encouraging too, way to be practicalized. But those children are going to eat. The parents, we also need to eat. Before we get to the free education, which is a very good notion and idea, is why were the palliatives not put in place before the subsidy was removed? We know it's high time it be removed. And then why, some Nigerians also ask us, why were we not even told to give us a bit of time to adjust? and make ready?
No, I mean, there's a simple answer to it. There has been a change of government. The previous government did not make provision for in the budget. So when the new government came, I mean, it's like if somebody is handing over something to you. If it doesn't include money, there's no way you can manufacture money overnight. And in any case, the palliative sustenance over the years had been a very mindless, infraction on the part of Nigeria. You cannot, nobody in Nigeria in his right senses will produce a product at, say, 100 naira and be selling it at 50 naira. Somebody has to be filling the gap. Where is that money coming from? When we have several infrastructural challenges in the educational sector, in the health sector, in transportation sector, in even the security sector. We need money for all of these things.
So you're telling us that it's high time it was done?
No, I mean, it was an irregularity to start with.
It ought to have been done before now, which already established.
And I think that the problem, like I said, is the fact that we as a nation, over the last 12, 13 years, have looked at our refineries go to waste. Year in, year out, budgets are made to review or to revive the refineries. There's no account, there's no, nobody is telling us why, despite the periodic or yearly
maintenance
budgets,
is being done.
Nothing has
You have nothing to show for that. Okay, we'll continue our conversation. In the meantime, our viewers are sending in messages because this is a pertinent issue for Nigerians. Everyone is, like I said, we've adjusted the belt to the point where there's no more hole to put in the buckle, and the waist is tight and slim already. At this time, we'll go to Enugu, where there's a package that is going to give us a clear narrative and description what exactly is happening in many states in the country. They've tagged this one, Hope for the Future. Sir, let's work this together.
Ujunwa. Yes, Queen. Come and take your seat. Okay. Okay. There's no meat in my soup. There's no meat in your soup. So you've not been hearing the way Daddy and Mommy have been complaining since about how things are hard, eh? You don't know things are now very expensive. You should be thanking God that you even have soup to eat. Eh? Oh yeah, be going. I don't know, I'll manage it.
This typifies the indomitable Nigerian spirit, already adjusting to the prevailing economic condition. A visit to Coal Camp Motor Spare Parts Village in Enugu revealed the dogged determination of an average Nigerian to survive and succeed despite the level of hardship being experienced at the moment.
The best quality of a good manager is flexibility. So that I have adopted. And for you to be able to sustain and then keep the business going, you must have to adjust. So I've adjusted in so many things, and that is one of the measures I've used.
The little money I can make in this trade, it cannot power me to put fuel on my car. In this case, I have parked my car because I don't have the resources to be putting about 10 to 20 liters to come out to my shed. I'm using my leg to trek.
Here at Obete Main Market, Enugu, the message of hope for a better tomorrow resonates high among the people.
I'm advising people, more especially people that are struggling people, not to lose hope. We're in a trial process. All this is something that we take to give testimony in future, what we undergone.
My advice to my fellow women, both big and small, both rich and poor, is that we will exercise little patience to the government of the day. Very soon, in no distance time, we will overcome it. And we will be great again. And things will normalize, then we will now enjoy our life.
In line with attaining economic recovery and achieving a better future for Nigeria and Nigerians, the government has embarked on initiatory steps towards empowering the citizens especially those in the rural areas. Chigozie Ekochi is a resident of Akegbeugu community in Enugu South local government area of Enugu State. His small-scale business is a testimony of government intervention.
The grant is from federal government through Enugu State. The grant is just for helping out business people. So I saw the pickup as an important need, most especially my condition as a disabled person. So the pickup helps me a lot, most especially when it comes about the transportation of bringing these goods and trying to suit the customer.
The agricultural transformation agenda of the federal government, the ATA, has to look at these things holistically. And it's just not enough to say, oh, the project is this, after it will go. No, there are some challenges. There are some people, for example, that have been empowered by this, that need sustenance, that needs enlargement.
If there is no job, you create one, simply by learning a skill. Because every young person with a skill is empowered to employ others. Any young Nigerian that is out of school and you don't have work, quit blaming government, quit blaming your parents, quit blaming anybody, and take responsibility for yourself.
Every Nigerian is being called on to take responsibility and bring up to the fore that indomitable spirit that we all have. You're watching Weekend Deal. We're talking about the economic realities that we face at this time. And it's all hands on deck working assiduously together to ensure that we pull through. A break beckons on Weekend Deal. Stay with us. Don't go away. We'll bring that to the fore in the course of time. You know that your messages should keep coming in. Our program is interactive because you know that in your different locations in Nigeria, there are peculiar things that you are facing that we may not have heard about and how you surmounted them. We'd like for you to share. That break comes now. Don't go away. Weekend Deal. It's been a pleasure having your company on Weekend Deal. We've been talking about the economic realities that we all face. It is typical for Nigeria. We are indomitable. We are resilient. We are focused. We are tenacious. And what you can find when you see a Nigerian anywhere in the world is that never say die spirit. We all have it. Any situation, any circumstances, we bring our indomitable spirit to the fore, and oftentimes we ace it. Now is the time. Put on your thinking cap. How innovative can I be? How resilient, how ingenious. And when in doubt, stay kind, stay compassionate, but be proactive. Think like there's no box. There's always something extra you can do to bring in more income. Keep your family abreast of your financial situation and talk with everyone so that they can understand and they can come on board with you. God indeed bless all Nigerians. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you.